a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place.
Good morning, viewers, and welcome back to the Tobago Updates morning show, coming to you here live from the Port Mall in Scarborough, Tobago. Yes, viewers, welcome back indeed. We're coming to you here live from the Port Mall in Scarborough, Tobago. In this segment, viewers, we're heading into discussions with Bradon Roberts. And Bradon is the Tobago officer on TTUTA. No stranger to us here on set. And we want to welcome you this morning. Welcome, Bradon.
Yes, good morning. It's always a pleasure to be on the program with you all.
So this morning, I know we're focused on talking TTUTA on unpaid increments and gratuity. But just before we dive into that area, I really need to get the perspective of TTUTA in relation to the happenings, the very unfortunate happenings, I should say, late last week with regards to the bomb scare.
Right. So first of all, as you would have mentioned, unfortunately is the word to use. We had 2 terms previously where we had numerous disruptions. This is definitely not the term for these kind of happenings. We are seeing a society that is not so caring as they should be, I don't know how this could be a joke where students are preparing for an exam and that kind of a thing. We are to, however, prepare, let's say, near closer to exam time, if something like this is to happen, what would be the contingency? What would be the substitute days or what the contingency would be should this happen going forward? So while there's a lot of negatives that persons would easily see, there's a positive in it. Now, we would have seen some schools not being able to respond as they should have. So it tells us that we need to be better prepared. We know a lot of persons are looking at things in America. They may get creative here. So we need to be better prepared. So it's quite unfortunate. I would have seen some young man claim it and then he tried to clear his name after. These are not things for us to be joking about. Again, this term is not the term for disruptions. But however, I am grateful for the way in which the ministry and the division handle it. In some areas where they needed to dismiss schools, they gave the leeway for schools to be dismissed. But it shows up the system within schools, not so much the division and the ministry, but within schools, principals having things in place, the safety committee having things in place so that you don't have children lagging back 10 minutes, 15 minutes after the order was given to get to the muster point. So we are tightened up on some of those things. So it's a negative, but there's a little positive to remind us we need to be prepared.
All right. And certainly, a gentle reminder. And folks, I think this is something that we ought to stand firmly against as a population. Totally unacceptable because that kind of disruption can only lead negative in terms of its impact to our wider cross-section of our society, especially the vast amount of schools. I'm sure each and every one of us, you learned of it by force, wherever you were in Trinidad and Tobago, when you ask yourself, what are all these school children doing in and around,
yes.
at that unusual time of day? As we head on into the focal point for this morning, we're speaking to TTUTA on unpaid increments and gratuity. And certainly we look forward to getting the perspective coming out of the last interview and discussions with Dr. Feet. There are references to the fact that I think approximately about 25 million or more are paid in gratuity, a record high. Compared to the former administration. Tell us, what's the perspective of TTUTA at this point?
All right, so it is important for myself and for TTUTA to highlight this particular issue. I'm not discounting the fact I'm grateful that the current administration would have found monies to pay some of the outstanding. Yes, they will have inherited a large bill, but we have teachers. Now, teachers don't want excuses and nice stories. So that's not my job to give them an excuse. I am to advocate as forcefully as possible. We have teachers who they are owed sometimes maybe 100 or something thousand, 200 or something thousand. The budget that the division gets per month, when they pay the regular salaries and their regular expenses, they seldom have money to pay persons their outstanding increments, their gratuity, and their arrears. So what would happen is those persons whose increments maybe about 15,000 or 20,000, they would pay out 5, 10 of those. But there are persons who are languishing for years because the division simply has no money to pay. Now, what I'm grateful for, the administrator now, I have a very good relationship with her. So issues raised, you would see where there are attempts to address some of those issues. So for the past few months, I've been at the division meetings. This is an issue. Members will not be pleased with me coming to say, it have no money. That's not an excuse that anybody wants to hear. During the week last week, I had the conversation with the administrator again, and she would have given the commitment they will pay some in the very near future. So I'm grateful for the relationship that we have with the division. It doesn't negate the fact that there are persons waiting 5, 6, 7, 8 years for money they already worked for and not getting it simply because the division is saying they have no money to pay. I was informed that in the last year or the year before that they would have paid close to 17 million in education, and they are putting forward a close to 2.5 million to pay out in the very near future. However, there are persons who are struggling with outstanding monies to be paid for them for years. So my advocacy here is, while we plan for all these activities in Tobago, persons will have worked for their money. It's not a new initiative that we're trying to bring on the street. We need to be able to clear up those things because these teachers facing the economic hardship that everybody facing. So when we have projects and we have contractors and so on, they being able to get their outstanding money. We're having events and we're having artists coming in and we have no choice but to pay these persons their money. We have teachers here waiting a long period of time. So yes, in terms of balancing the submission, I'm grateful for what they were able to allocate and pay, but there are too many teachers who are not going to accept from TTUTA. The division had no money, so you have to wait a year again or 2 years again.
Tell us something. What does the overall, the figure that you're speaking to look like?
Based on the conversations, after they pay out what they intend to pay now, they may need about another 6 million to pay outstanding. Now remember, each day or each week that the division approves or processes an increment, that joins the line. So it might be around 6 million now. In terms of HR, I want to give HR some commendation. They would have done a lot in terms of processing some increments in the recent past, upgrades and so on. So we have another list of persons joining the line, waiting on funds to pay. So part of my advocacy is that I hope that the interview goes wide-reaching enough, that the finance secretary and the chief administrator, they do the needful to advocate as strongly as possible for the finances, the funds, for the Division of Education to pay their outstanding money. If I could just make one more comment. There was a comment I made at the division meeting which caused a little unease. Now, when you owe me money and you keep in activities and inviting me for a plate of food, that is disrespectful to me, you know. Because if the neighbor have 10,000 for me and you have a birthday party and you invited me and he had no money to pay me, teachers not receiving that well. So teachers are at TTUTA because TTUTA are not doing enough. My job is to represent the members. So while I see the efforts of the division, it does not ease those persons who are waiting 5, 6, 7, 8 years for outstanding money.
All right, tell us something, Bradon. When we make the comparison, because the wider population looking on would make the point, because based on your estimations, just over about 30 million might have been outstanding, 25 of which would have been dealt with so far, and there's the balance of about 6 you're indicating.
No, there are 2.5 to pay close just shortly, and then might be about 8 something again.
So how do you respond to the part of the population that will say, well, so far, it seems like teachers got a good grip of it, because you would admit, depending on where you sit in the society, your priority or your demand would be different. How do you respond to those that will say, well, teachers, could bear a little bit more of the pain because some of us haven't gotten, for those who might want more in the health sector, those who might want more as THA workers outstanding, etc. How do you respond to that in the context of, a great majority of it, so to speak, being meted out to teachers thus far?
All right, so this is not a political interview, so it's not a comparison to a last administration and this administration.
I'm speaking about people in Tobago. So, for example, I sit in youth development. I feel that youth development should have more. If you're a doctor and you sit in the health sector, I want to be paid off all my monies at the same time. How does TTUTA respond to that kind of balancing act?
All right.
That really is the scenario that comes forward.
This is my belief. You see, when you have your piece of the pie to get, you fight for your piece of the pie. I am not to judge if health got, if tourism got. You see, the teacher who waiting 10 years don't want to know my friend got, but I ain't get. Don't want to know that somebody, any other division got, and I ain't get. So those persons may be pleased to know that the list getting shorter, but they still ain't getting. And when they find money now to pay this grouping, because they didn't get the money before, but they dig deep and they got the money based on my understanding. When will the next tranche be paid? But the persons who are waiting long are those persons who money piling up so long now, it's not an easy payment. So it's not to compare if you get more than me. You owe me $10, I'm waiting 5 years, 6 years, 7 years. It doesn't matter how many other things you pay, I am still being owed my $10 at the end of 10 years, 11 years, whatever that situation is. So I don't want to compare what other divisions get. I say I give the division recommendation for clearing up some of the backlog. But if I don't come out and advocate for greater allocations, it will be comforted that we pay some, so some could wait. Those who are waiting will not be a comfortable wait. As I will give the example, for somebody who had breakfast, they could probably skip lunch. But if you for the morning, you can't tell them wait until dinner.
Definitely understood, Bradon. You have your responsibility, notwithstanding the circumstance. I want to know very quickly the support of TTUTA at the national level, because one of the realities for us in Tobago, you might hear the flip side being said, as has been bandied about somewhat in terms of allocations coming to Tobago. Is there also that level of advocacy happening at the national level, similarly, with the hopes that we would probably be able to get more? So I know you're speaking to a management issue here in Tobago, but we're also looking at the flip side. Management is one aspect, but we could always do with more money here in Tobago. Tell me about the position at the national level in relation to that.
Right, so nationally, we do a similar advocacy. I'm not certain of the reach as how I would be, it's easily for me to be in the interview and be in Tobago updates and so forth. I'm not certain as to how far reaching it is, but I have been in interviews on the national stations speaking about the same investments for education. Now, we call on teachers to just give their best. Regardless of what their salary is, whether we owe you, we upgrade you or not, just give your best. For teachers to give their best, we have to support our teachers. Too many of our teachers are going to school trying to forget the challenges, the financial problems, to focus on the children. It's not an easy thing for a teacher to be working for $6,000 a month. Your mortgage, your grocery bills. Sometimes when persons talk about the eagle land, might be have $500 in your account after your deductions, So we forcefully advocate at the national level too, and I also play a role at the national level. When we go to the ministry meetings, one of the permanent secretary, he had a term, he would call it KM1, where he is a recording, he jokingly play that have no money, have no allocations. So when we raise issues, he would say, okay, we pretend to play the recording, have no money. But it doesn't say we're not going to keep advocating. And I am going to ensure and do my job to ensure that we advocate.
I feel like you're at a point where you don't know what to believe because, as you said, that seems to be the natural response, whether it's THA or it's government. You always hear about the challenges with funds.
And if I can quickly.
So let me allow you to make your closing comments as we prepare to wrap this morning's interview.
If I could quickly respond to that. Now, I hear that education gets a large chunk of the budget, but we are not seeing it. I'm not certain how the management, especially of contracts and repair program, and how we spend the money that we are getting. However, it's not trickling down to some of the key stakeholders. Too many of our teachers, and we have some contractors who sometimes they meet me and complain that they didn't get their money from the last repair program. But we need to know how we are investing in Trinidad and Tobago. We are spending a lot of money investing in crime-fighting measures. If we train our children right, it's less crime we would have to be fighting up with going down the road. So we need to have a concerted effort. I have been advocating for a consultation with the business sector where we have adopt a school program, so at least we could easily strain on the government so that we can be able to better manage the delivery of education. So yes, financing is an issue, and we have to play a role because too many of our teachers are frustrated with what is being offered to them.
All right. Thank you very much there, Bradon Roberts. And I'm seeing some of the comments coming in. One says, I want this guy to advocate for me. And I'm also seeing some other comments coming in and feedback. So just in case you missed it, folks, because it came up within his conversation, as much as he's advocating, they're certainly not admonishing teachers or indicating to teachers that they should do any less. But they continue to emphasize and to enforce that teachers should continue to give their very best, even while they're advocating for more and to ensure that teachers receive what is due to them. Thank you very much, Bradon Roberts, for joining us here on set this morning, giving us that perspective from TTUTA as our Tobago officer, certainly representing us far and wide. Viewers, we want to thank you so much for the continued support and for choosing the Tobago Updates morning show. Coming up next, we have Richard Ford, author and poet, as we speak to 22 virtues for you to pursue. We look forward to those discussions and remind you at this time that this is your opportunity to share the live, share the live, share the live.